The year 1947 marked a pivotal moment in the history of the Indian subcontinent, a year that would forever change the course of millions of lives. It witnessed the birth of two independent nations, India and Pakistan, each embarking on a new journey of self-determination and sovereignty. But this momentous occasion was tragically intertwined with unprecedented violence and displacement, affecting countless families and communities. The partition of British India, etched in the annals of history as a tale of human resilience and suffering, continues to cast a long shadow on the region, influencing its present and future. This essay delves into the multifaceted impact of the partition, exploring its historical context, immediate consequences, and enduring legacy that still resonates today. This tumultuous period saw the largest mass migration in human history, as millions of Hindus, Muslims, and Sikhs were uprooted from their ancestral homes, forced to seek new beginnings. The partition was accompanied by horrific violence, leaving an indelible mark on the collective memory of the subcontinent, a scar that has yet to heal. This essay aims to shed light on the complexities of this historical event, examining its causes, consequences, and lasting impact on the people and politics of South Asia, a region still grappling with its legacy. The partition of India was not merely a geographical division, it was a profound social and psychological rupture that continues to shape the political and social landscape of the region, influencing generations. The scars of partition run deep, manifested in the enduring rivalry between India and Pakistan, a rivalry that has led to numerous conflicts and tensions over the decades. The plight of refugees who still seek a sense of belonging, a place to call home, remains a poignant reminder of the human cost of this division, and the unresolved questions of identity and belonging that continue to haunt the subcontinent, questions that are as relevant today as they were in 1947. As we commemorate the anniversary of this momentous event, it is imperative to remember the human cost of partition and to reflect on its enduring legacy, a legacy that calls for introspection and understanding. The partition serves as a stark reminder of the importance of tolerance, understanding, and peaceful coexistence in a world increasingly marked by division and conflict, a lesson we must never forget. To comprehend the complexities of the partition, one must delve deeply into the historical backdrop of British colonial rule in India, which laid the foundation for future conflicts. The British Raj, spanning over 2 centuries, played a significant role in shaping the political and social dynamics of the subcontinent, influencing every aspect of life. While British rule brought about modernization in infrastructure and administration, it also exacerbated existing religious and communal divisions, ultimately contributing to the climate that led to the partition of India. The British adopted a policy often described as divide and rule, exploiting existing religious and caste differences to maintain control over the vast and diverse Indian population, ensuring their dominance. This policy involved favoring certain communities over others, fueling resentment and mistrust among different religious groups, which had long-lasting impacts. For instance, the British granted separate electorates for Hindus and Muslims in the early 20th century, further solidifying religious identities in the political sphere and deepening divisions. Furthermore, British policies often neglected the economic and social disparities between different religious communities, creating a sense of inequality. Muslims, in particular, lagged behind Hindus in education and economic opportunities, leading to a sense of marginalization and alienation within the broader society. This growing sense of economic and political disenfranchisement among Muslims contributed to the rise of Muslim nationalism and the demand for a separate Muslim state, which gained momentum over time. The seeds of partition were sown during British rule, as the colonizers' policies inadvertently fostered a climate of suspicion and animosity between Hindus and Muslims, setting the stage for the tragic events of 1947. The partition was not simply an overnight occurrence, but rather the culmination of decades of growing communal tensions exacerbated by British policies that exploited religious divisions for political expediency, leading to one of the most significant events in modern history. Amidst the backdrop of growing communal tensions and the approaching end of British rule, the demand for a separate Muslim state gained momentum. Leading this movement was Muhammad Ali Jinnah, a prominent lawyer and politician who emerged as the chief advocate for the creation of Pakistan. Jinnah, initially a proponent of Hindu-Muslim unity, gradually became convinced that the only way to safeguard the interests of Muslims in South Asia was through the establishment of a separate nation. The All India Muslim League, under Jinnah's leadership, became the primary political vehicle for Muslim nationalist aspirations. The League argued that Muslims constituted a distinct nation with their own culture, language and religion, and therefore could not coexist with Hindus in a unified India. They feared that a Hindu-majority independent India would inevitably lead to the marginalization and oppression of Muslims. The Muslim League's demand for Pakistan gained traction among the Muslim masses, particularly in the northwestern and eastern provinces of British India, where Muslims were in the majority. The League's message resonated with Muslims who felt increasingly insecure about their future in a post-colonial India dominated by Hindus. Jinnah's charisma and political acumen further galvanized support for the idea of Pakistan. The call for Pakistan was not universally accepted among Muslims. Many Muslim leaders and intellectuals opposed the idea of partition, arguing for a united India where Hindus and Muslims could coexist peacefully. However, the rising tide of communal violence and the political maneuvering of the Muslim League ultimately overshadowed these voices of unity. As the end of British rule in India drew near, the question of how to divide the vast and diverse subcontinent loomed large, creating a sense of urgency and uncertainty among the leaders and the populace. Lord Mountbatten, the last Viceroy of India, was tasked with the daunting responsibility of overseeing the transition to independence and finding a solution to the escalating communal violence that threatened to tear the country apart. In June 1947, Mountbatten announced the Partition Plan, which proposed the creation of two independent dominions, India and Pakistan, in an attempt to address the growing tensions. The Mountbatten Plan, while intended to provide a swift resolution to the political impasse, was marred by haste and a lack of foresight, leading to numerous unforeseen complications. The Radcliffe Line, hastily drawn to demarcate the borders between India and Pakistan, was based on outdated maps and census data, leading to confusion and disputes over territories that were not clearly defined. The plan also failed to adequately address the issue of princely states, leaving them to decide their own fate, which further complicated the already volatile situation. The rushed nature of the partition plan, coupled with the lack of proper planning for the mass migration that would ensue, created a recipe for chaos and widespread violence. The sudden announcement of the partition date just 2 months after the plan was unveiled triggered panic and mass displacement as people desperately tried to cross the newly created borders to reach their perceived religious majority areas, fearing for their safety. The Mountbatten Plan, while intended to grant independence to India, inadvertently sowed the seeds of chaos and bloodshed, leaving a legacy of pain and division. The hastily drawn borders, the lack of preparedness for mass migration, and the failure to address the issue of princely states created a situation ripe for conflict and suffering, the effects of which are still felt today. Section 5. Exodus, mass migration and unprecedented displacement. The year 1947, marked by the partition, witnessed unprecedented violence and carnage. Communities that had lived together for centuries were torn apart. The shadow of these events still looms large over the subcontinent, a reminder of the deep scars left by the partition. The partition's legacy endures, shaping the socio-political landscape of India and Pakistan. Families were divided and millions were displaced, creating a refugee crisis of immense proportions. The cultural and emotional impact of the partition continues to resonate, influencing generations. The partition of India and Pakistan is not just a regional event, but a significant chapter in global history. It exemplifies the complexities of decolonization and the profound effects of drawing arbitrary borders. The lessons learned from this period are still relevant in today's geopolitical climate. The memory of the partition is etched deeply in the collective consciousness of the people. Memorials, literature, and oral histories keep the stories of that time alive. As we reflect on this legacy, it is crucial to remember the human cost and strive for a future where such tragedies are never repeated.